This is the OU Weekly Matchup Show, and with all due respect to Michigan, Ohio State, Auburn, Alabama, Army, Navy, and all those other rivalries, they don't hold jack compared to OU Texas, the best rivalry in college football, period. Not just because the game is typically competitive, unlike those other rivalry games over recent years, but also the environment. You can't beat it. It's in Dallas. Both sets of fans, both teams have to travel about the same distance from their campus to get to this game. Also, it's held at the Texas State Fair. So when you arrive there on the grounds, you smell the corn dogs, it's in a happy atmosphere, and you have Big Tech standing about 50,000 feet tall looking down on you saying, "Howdy, folks." And then the Cotton Bowl itself, over 90,000 fans. Hardest ticket to get around these parts for any event. Half of the stadium, burnt orange. The other half in crimson and cream. Boomer Sooner, Hook 'em Horns, Bevo, the Sooner Schooner. Doesn't get any better than that. OU Texas, it's coming soon. Now, talking about the game itself, and when I saw the opening line, I couldn't believe it because it's number 2 or number 3, depending on what poll you look at, taking on a team that's just barely ranked in the top 20. Yet Texas is only favored to win this game by 3 points, only by a field goal, and that tells me that Vegas knows something about this game. It tells me also that they think that OU has a decent shot at pulling off the upset if the spread's only 3. The Longhorns had a fantastic year so far, undefeated, again ranked in the top 5. But could that low spread be due to the fact that their top 2 running backs have injury difficulty? We don't know as of Monday if these running backs are going to play in the game. Could it be also because of the return of Sam Bradford? That could be as well, or could it be those reasons combined and other reasons that we do not know? But regardless, at least Vegas thinks that the Longhorns are going to have a difficult time against Oklahoma on Saturday, but they still like the Longhorns to win, but by a slim margin. We'll have to wait and see come Saturday morning. By the way, that'll be an 11 a.m. kickoff. It will be nationally televised on ABC, so remember that. Now, have the Texas Longhorns so far lived up to expectations? I think defensively, they've surpassed them. This defense is better than last year's. And remember, Texas only lost 1 game last season. That was that Michael Crabtree catch at the end of the game to lose to Texas Tech. This defense is very experienced, especially in the secondary. They return everybody, and they have a dominant defensive pass rusher in Sergio Kendall, an All-American type. So OU will have to be aware of him. Otherwise, Sam Bradford's going to be uncomfortable all afternoon. Now, as far as Oklahoma, like the way Bradford looked against Baylor, threw the ball nearly 50 times. Did have incompletions, but some of those, of course, were not his fault, as documented in the post-game show against Baylor that I had. Even though Texas comes into this game as the favorite, even though they have aspirations of national championship, and even though Oklahoma's hopes for a national championship right now look slim, remember, Texas has not beaten a good opponent yet this season. Their most impressive win was against an average Texas Tech team, and that game came down to the 4th quarter with Texas winning by only 10 points in Austin. Remember also, Colt McCoy, his stats aren't nearly as good at this time as they were at this time last season. He only threw 8 interceptions in all of 2008. He's already thrown 6 interceptions and only 10 touchdowns. Remember, Texas's top 2 running backs were injured in last week's game against Colorado, and as I mentioned, we don't know their status for this Saturday's game. It's too early to tell. When you consider all that, and you ask anybody outside the Sooner State who's going to win this game, I'm sure most would say Texas without even hesitating. I think that will bring a lot of pressure to the Longhorns because they're expected to win this time. We'll see how Texas handles Oklahoma and also the pressure of this big game. Let's go over the 4 keys to this game. Number 1, the real McCoy or Sam I Am. Who's going to come through in the 4th quarter? 2 years ago when these guys went head-to-head for the first time, it was Bradford who had the better 4th quarter, and Oklahoma won in a nail-biter. Last year, even though Bradford had better stats, it was McCoy in the 4th quarter who outshined Sam, and Texas won the game by 10 points by one of the most famous scorers in the history of college football, 45-35. I know because Texas fans kept lobbying for that as their plea to try to leapfrog Oklahoma in the final BCS, but it didn't work. Now, key number 2 to this game, run like the wind. Over recent seasons, the team who has outrushed the other team in this rivalry game has won, and that included last year when Texas outgained OU on the ground. Oklahoma averaged just barely over 4 yards a carry in last week's game against Baylor. They did rush for over 200 yards, but had difficulty punching it in when they got in the red zone. OU can't keep settling for field goals, and if the running game can't get it going, they're going to have to settle for Jimmy Stevens' leg, and that could end up being detrimental in the final result. So run like the wind. The team who can outrush the other in this one will win the game. At least stat-wise, that's what's happened in recent seasons. Key number 3, ship in or ship out. We are talking about Jordan Shipley, Texas's probably, I think right now, their big headline player considering what he's done receiving and also special teams. Remember last year when OU led 14-3, it was Shipley who ran that kickoff back for a touchdown. That changed the complexion of the ball game. Shipley also caught a touchdown pass and also caught a key long pass in the fourth quarter with Texas down 35-30. He got the ball to the 1-yard line. Texas eventually scored and never trailed again. You must be aware of where Shipley is at because he's so dangerous after the catch, and he's also a dangerous returner. So ship in or ship out, Shipley is a big key for the Longhorns. And number 4, drop passes, can't have them, okay? It's basically that simple. OU receivers had way too many drops last week against Baylor. You might say, well, OU won the game convincingly. On the scoreboard, yeah, but it was only 14-7 at halftime. Should have been a much wider margin than would have been if it weren't for the drops. So Cameron Kinney, as well as Brandon Caleb, as well as Ryan Burrows, who has not been ruled out, by the way, for this game against Texas, at least as of Monday. Ryan Burrows has not been ruled out. Remember, he had that big shoulder injury 2 weeks ago in the loss to Miami. And also Adrian Tennell, he must come through as well. So, again, drop passes, can't have them in this matchup. Overall, again, the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners, I think if these two teams play 10 times this season, Texas probably wins 7 of them. They're a little more talented, and they also have national championship aspirations for Oklahoma. To get into the national championship picture, they'd have to run the table, including win over Texas, plus have some bizarre things happen that are out of their control. Bottom line, I think Oklahoma is going to give Texas all they want. I think they'll have offensive success. If I go with my heart, Oklahoma's going to win. But have to go with my mind. Texas in a high-scoring, close game will edge out Oklahoma 35-31, pretty close to that point spread. Again, 35-31, Texas with the win, and never in my entire life have I wanted to be more wrong about a prediction than this one. Hopefully I'm wrong, but if I'm going with my mind and taking my heart out of the equation, I'm going with Texas to win, but of course I'll be rooting like heck for the Crimson and Cream. We'll have our post-game show of OU Texas coming up on Sunday. Goodbye for now.